Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome, how are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. My only regret marrying a Filipina. A subscriber asked me one day if I had any regrets marrying a Filipina. This wasn't something that had crossed my mind before, so I thought I would take some time and put some thoughts down. As always, I hope that someone can learn from what I say. I'm not the final authority on anything. I just try to follow the Word of God in this relationship and share as our relationship develops. Love Beyond the Sea exists to help foreigners and Filipinas have a good marriage, from before even contacting someone online to thoughts on providing for her at death. I hope this runs the gamut as I gain more experience with my wife. Check out lvbts.com for podcasts as well as a private consulting service. Subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. Get notifications for the videos here on YouTube. What could a man regret by getting married to a Filipina? I will list some possibilities, then we'll come clean with a full disclosure of my own regret marrying a Filipina. Well, you could talk about loss of freedom. I know what it's like to be single a very long time, and I preferred to be married all these years. So far, I don't regret losing the freedom being alone that I used to have, because with that, sometimes it felt like being bound, actually, and not so free. Being married limits me in some ways, but I also feel more freedom. Like they say, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, but there are some things on the other side I couldn't experience as a single person, such as a committed relationship for life. How about possible regrets with having a younger wife? Now, I've made some videos about this because although there are benefits to this for the older foreign man, there are things about being married to a younger woman he might be overlooking or maybe underemphasizing. Things like, what she is like when she has her period. Some women have a very difficult one. Her maturity, possible differences in priorities, and her plans and dreams for her future. It is easy to get blinded by a Filipina's beauty and see little else. If she happens to be immature and you are mature, your maturity will get tested in new and different ways. Marrying a Filipina who has been working and supporting her family gives you a better chance of marrying a more mature Filipina, at least in my opinion. She might like music and television shows that don't appeal to you, and might spend a lot of time on social media watching her favorite dramas from the Philippines. If you are older, it is possible that your idea of what to do with time after work is different from hers. These things need to be addressed, of course, before getting married. How about this one? Worrying with the thought that she might leave me. Do I regret looking over my shoulder, so to speak, that she might leave me? Do I regret now having to be concerned that some unscrupulous guy might try to intrude into my space? I feel safe with my wife. She has given me no reason to not trust her 100%. I can see how other guys eyeball her when we go shopping and I walk behind her and they think she's alone. If someone made my wife uncomfortable, she would just tell me, and I would make sure to talk to this person, hopefully in the presence of his wife if he has one, and it wouldn't happen again. How about this one? That her family lives so far away. Possible regret here. This means that we will need to make some trips to the Philippines now and then, if possible. That requires weeks of time and money. That just comes with the territory. I'm getting better on the long flights. In a strange way, I'm beginning to almost like it. When my wife goes back to the Philippines, it means a lot to her. Her excitement starts to build about a month before leaving, and being there does her a lot of good. How about this one? What people think. This one bothers some men more than others. I would be naive if I didn't think that some men are jealous of me in a good way. I would also be naive if I didn't think that some men are jealous of me in a bad way. They might say things behind my back. They might even make things up. We've seen some of that here on YouTube. When my wife got here in January of 2016, I took her to the main places I went and introduced her to people like, my doctors, dentists, financial advisor, barber, introduced her to some coworkers, and my pastor, and of course people at church. I think it would be best to do this and not try to hide her from others so as to not worry about what they might think and say. You can't hide her forever. Now, I don't flaunt my wife in front of anyone. I simply introduce her to them as my wife. I act the same way around my wife in public as in private. At no time has anyone given me the impression they think I did something bad by finding my wife in the Philippines, and there probably is a stigma attached to a foreign man going to the Philippines to get married. If they thought I did that just to get a sexual plaything, then they don't know me very well. I think a man does a smart thing when he marries a Filipina, and I think a Filipina does a smart thing to marry the right foreign guy. When my wife's family and friends see us in person, I want them to see a man who values his wife as a wife, not a sex object. How about this one? Getting married so soon. It is possible to marry a Filipina in a lot less time than it would take somewhere else, and you should go where you're wanted. For me, this was a good thing, as I had been looking and waiting for someone I wanted to marry for a very long time, where it was reciprocal. When people speculate that a couple got married too quickly, I think they're saying that they got married without doing some critical thinking about the relationship. I think that can happen even when couples are together for several years or more. When the husband is older, like I am, it is possible he has figured out over the years what is important and what isn't, and what is more important than others. He may be in a good position to put more emphasis on the younger Filipina's total well-being, and than when he was much younger. My priorities have changed as I've gotten older, and coupled with studying as much about marriage as I could helped prepare me for marrying my wife as quickly as I did. That is not to say I knew everything about her, because no, that's not possible. I think I knew what I needed to know and kind of had a blueprint of how I wanted to build the marriage. It's like a plant, needs to be watered regularly, and that is essentially what Love Beyond the Sea is about. Practical ideas for managing a foreigner and Filipina marriage well. That would apply to any marriage, I think. How about this one? Sending money to the Philippines. Is this a regret I have in marrying a Filipina? You don't know exactly how this, will need to be worked out until you have been married for a while. You can address it before marriage in a general way, but I wouldn't suggest making hard and fast boundaries and dollar amounts right away. You just never know what could happen. Someone could need money for a burial, a legitimate and major medical issue, or some other unexpected and unavoidable circumstance. This is also just part of marrying a Filipina. If let's say you married an American woman, like where I'm from, you might complain she wastes money on all kinds of things she doesn't even need, that she might be high maintenance and has expensive tastes. If you marry a Filipina, she likely has a family she has been supporting and will be expected to continue to support. That much you should know, and now you do. All the support we have sent back home has been for necessities or above that by our own choice. It has been for good and has done good. In either event, you can't easily keep the money at home. Now, I don't regret that, because the money we send back home is not wasteful and it helps others. Now, here's my only regret in marrying a Filipina. I will give full disclosure here. Just make sure my wife isn't going to come down and hear this. I do regret that I didn't do it earlier. I was almost going to say that after ruminating on this for a while that I had no regrets. However, that wouldn't be entirely true. The only regret I have is that I didn't do it sooner. I was 53 years old. That's not ancient, but it was beginning to feel that way. Looking back, I assumed I would be married by about the time I was 25. This is tempered knowing that literally my wife wasn't born until I was 27. The way it worked out, there was no way I could have met her and married her when I was in the so-called prime of my life. It seemed like women at 25 had already been married, moved on with their life, But that's not the way it is in the Philippines. There you can find many women that age who wonder if they're even, I mean, if they're maybe too old to get married. Same with some other places. I have no problem saying that I need this little woman from Davao City, Philippines. I need her in my life. She is such a blessing. We've been married for over 5 years now. I have never wondered what my life would be like if I had met her earlier. I guess the idea of a foreign wife was just not realistic to me before I met her. It kind of happened quickly once I decided to focus on the Philippines. That's why I am suggesting a foreign wife to my viewers who are single and unattached. So better late than never. So many of us have married a Filipina and are glad we did. I don't want anyone to regret not trying, or at least not assembling enough information for them to know if a Filipino wife is something that they should consider. This channel is all about all of that. You only have so much time and you aren't even privy to how much. Go where you're wanted. No regrets here, finding my love beyond the sea.